What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another episode of Player Ratings as we beat Rangers 2-1 at Ibrox in a very competitive pre-season friendly, and it was a really good game in my opinion. A lot of good performances out there, which we'll get into now. And let's start off with Hugo Lloris, which we gave 6s all round. It was a fairly quiet day for Hugo. I mean, I don't think he could have done much with the goal that went in. I thought that, you know, from crosses, there were a few crosses that he did really well, commanding, punching out. And then there was a kind of few nervous moments, maybe playing out from the back from Hugo. But all in all, it was a fairly quiet day for him.
Yeah, I feel like he's still. We always said about Hugo, he's never. I don't think he's ever going to be the best goalkeeper with his feet. We know that. But when it comes to like clipping passes into wing backs and stuff, it can be a bit dodgy. But sometimes when he gets time and space, he can do it. Just when he's rushed, he seems to be a bit wayward. But yeah, it didn't have too much to do saving wise. I don't remember too many saves he made. But a few good punches from crosses. But that's pretty much it for the goal. Don't think he could do much about it.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on to Cristian Romero. Sim gives him a 9. I gave him an 8. And I thought it was an absolutely stellar display from Kuti from minute 1 all the way till the end. Some really aggressive tackles, some really good interceptions, really nice playing out from the back as well, and had his hand in going forward as well, helping the team really go forward and attack. And it was one of these displays that we're coming to be accustomed to from Cristian Romero, and he's getting better and better. He really is. I know it's just a pre-season, but I'm still going to wax lyrical about him because I love him to bits.
Yeah, there were times where like Kent isolated him one-on-one, you're thinking, oh, are we in trouble here? And he goes on the outside, Romero deals with it so easy. Yeah. And it's so nice having such a competent centre-back who's confident in himself. And also late in the game, he was chasing down McGregor, forcing mistakes from him, which we can obviously make the most of late in the game, but he was just everywhere. Another brilliant display from Kuti. So yeah, delighted with him.
Let's move on to Eric Dier. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. It was a bit of a mixed bag with Eric Dier, in my opinion, to be honest. I think there were a few nervy moments at the back from him, but on the other hand, I felt like he was aerially dominant for the most part, put in some really hefty challenges as well on the floor. There was a nervous moment as well when he went down and he went off a few minutes later. Hopefully it was just precaution and that he doesn't have an injury in there. But he did have a surging forward run in the first half where he had a really good shot. But you know, didn't end up in the goal. But all in all, I thought it was a good display from Eric, but not amazing.
He did apparently confirm today that it's only he's fine. It's not much of an issue, so that's good news for Eric Dier. I don't think the goal he was particularly good for, but I think by and large, I think he had a pretty solid performance, and I think he's starting to look a bit more confident again, surging forward as he has done this pre-season, which is really great. Do I still feel like we could do with some competition for him?
Absolutely.
But at the moment, I'm still pretty happy with how he's performing, and people forget last season he was pretty great. Like, I don't remember too many mistakes he made last season, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that. And hopefully next season he can continue in that vein of form, and we shouldn't have an issue.
Yeah, look, I think that Eric Dier has been performing well of late, as the whole of last season as well. But like you say, I think it's imperative that we get some competition for him in the central centre backs. But let's move on to Davinson Sanchez. 6s all round from us. In terms of the goal we conceded, I felt it came down his side. He was left a bit flat-footed in his positional sense. But I thought that he actually had a good game on a whole, being aggressive at the back, making some really important challenges, getting forward, producing to the attack as well. There was that one moment where he put in a really nice back heel where we failed to convert from. But I thought it was a lot better showing at left centre-back than it has been maybe the past 2 games.
Yeah, I agree with that, and he was much more willing to get forward and get in and support the attack than in previous games, and looking a lot more confident in those areas as well, despite not doing much apart from that back heel, which would have been a brilliant assist for someone like Sanchez. I thought defensively, as you say, the goal, I don't think anyone covered themselves in any glory for the goal, to be honest. It was a pretty poor goal all round, but I don't think his role in it was particularly good either. But I think by and large he was actually defensively really solid, and I think he dealt with that side really pretty well. But those question marks about his suitability playing out from the back still remain, and until he's playing nice, confident passes in between the lines, which are required from that role, those question marks are always going to remain.
Yeah, I mean, there were actually one or two passes that I remember him pinging over, but it's just
he did try
few and
his
far
long balls,
between.
his long passes. He tried a few of them didn't come off, but a couple did. To be fair to him.
Yeah, which moves us on to Emerson Royal. Started at right wing back, sixes all round from us, and he saw a lot of the ball, especially in that first half, and he was trying to attack them down the right. I thought defensively he does really well, Emerson Royal. We know that's his forte, but going forward, I would say that a lot of moves broke down when he had it on that right hand side. But on the other side of that, I felt like he was putting in good balls into the box when no one was really there, but good deliveries. So I actually like Emerson Royal. I'm growing to like him, and I think that he's got a lot more to give, and I think that he can definitely grow into that role, and I would definitely keep him around.
Yeah, it was a bit of a frustrating performance, only because he got into so many promising positions, and unfortunately pretty much every time it broke down. Not all of them his fault, but a few of them were his fault. And that's where the frustration comes. The good thing is he's, as I think we've known from last season, he's capable of getting to that position multiple times a game, which is very important in Conte's system. He needs you to get there. That's like the first part of the job, is to just keep getting in those positions, and he's clearly capable of doing that. And I think he's capable of stretching the play and causing a bit of chaos in the opposition box. The only question mark is when he gets there. A few times he could have pulled the trigger and he tried to pass, and the pass broke down, and a few times he tried to take the shot when a pass might have been a better option in those times, and that was ultimately a bit disappointing. But if he can get those things right, or even if he starts getting one or two right a game. I mean, in the K-League game, his final ball was actually pretty decent. He found his teammates multiple times, but yesterday's game was a bit different. Like, it just was ultimately his final ball was very frustrating. But if he can start being just a bit more clinical, a bit more decisive in the final third, even if it's with one or two actions like per game, then we might have a very good option there. But right now it's just still a bit frustrating, but there are encouraging signs.
Let's move on to Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. I felt first half wasn't really having a good game, and I felt like he was putting himself about, running about a lot, and putting in a lot of challenges, but I felt like his passing did let him down at times. There was that as well, should have got a goal where he got played through, and with a really nice move that it went just wide, where I felt like he should have done a lot better. But in the second half, I felt he did improve quite some bit, and he really added to the team positively in that second half, especially with his passing displays, getting forward, helping out of the back, those all-action displays that we're accustomed to see from Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg.
And he played a role in the second goal. He won the ball in the middle of the park and set up Son to pass to Kane, and we scored. And he's so good at doing that. It's a role that goes underrated. The amount of times he wins possession in the middle third when there are loose balls or things to combat. He's always been very strong at winning those duels, and I think that that's especially in Conte's mid-block system, I think it's perfect. And I think by and large he had a very good game. I think the amount of times we were able to win the ball back in the centre of the pitch and spring on Rangers and cause them problems, I think a lot of that was he contributed a lot to that as well. Yeah, his passing occasionally maybe a bit wayward. It's still something he's always going to work on. He's always been a bit of a loose passer, which he has to work on. But as well, he's also quite good at making quick passes to spring on the opposition sometimes, and that can be very valuable. So I think he had a pretty good game. But yeah, that finish when he was 1-on-1 should have done a lot better, although I did think the pass from Son as well was a bit lacking, but he still should have scored.
Yeah. Let's move on to Rodrigo Bentancur. Sim gives him a 6. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. He only played 45 minutes, Bentancur, because Bissouma came on at half time. Again, Bentancur saw a lot of the ball, quick passing, making us tick at times, aggression in the middle of the park as well. There was that one moment where he plays a 1-2 where when he received the ball back, he really should have pulled the trigger instead of passing the ball back. I think it was to Emerson or to Kulusevski. I can't remember which one. But I think that with the quality that Bentancur has, I just feel like he should be producing a lot more to the team going forward, where sometimes he just plays the safe pass instead of being a bit more adventurous.
Yeah, I always find when he gets in the final third, he always looks for the pass every time. He doesn't go for the shot, even though he hasn't scored for us yet, has he? But whenever he does take a shot, he does seem to have decent technique and gets good power on it. So maybe he just needs more confidence in himself. But then again, maybe it's instruction from Conte, because it seems to be a thing whenever a player goes through on goal, if there's an option to pass, they always make it. You think back to his chance against Norwich where he squared it for Kulusevski, whereas most players in that position go for goal.
They just play too much FIFA, that's what it is.
Yeah, potentially looking for the sweaty goals. He was guilty of that a few times against Rangers. There was definitely one when he was linking with Emerson, and he could have definitely taken the shot, and he went to play Emerson, then Emerson tried to get it back to him, and ultimately the move broke down, which was frustrating. But I think, again, like with Hojbjerg, I think the amount of times he did win possession in the middle of the park is invaluable, and it's so crucial in Conte's system, and I think he does brilliant at that. Just want to see a bit more from him with his quality going forward, and I do think he has that, and I'm not worried about him showing quality, or him having the quality. It's just about him showing it, which is the issue. Which is what Juventus fans always complained about. They always said that as well. He has it, he just doesn't show it enough.
It's true. Let's move on to Ryan Sessegnon. 6s all round from us. And I just more often than not always feel like Ryan Sessegnon has a lot more to give, and always found wanting more a bit with Ryan Sessegnon. And this was no different, to be honest. I thought defensively he was all right, but the goal did come down his side. But going forward, he does hit the byline a lot of times and get good crosses into the box, but ultimately no one was there to polish them off. But they are good quality deliveries. But more often than not, he really fails to take on his man, and he always just checks back and then passes into the midfield, which is frustrating because he's got the qualities to beat his man, hit the byline, get good crosses in the box, arrive late at the back post and finish off the chances. But it just leaves us with more frustrations with Ryan Sessegnon, and I'll get to Ivan Perisic in a second, but as soon as he came on, you saw the difference.
Yeah, it was fairly similar to Emerson, although Emerson probably had more opportunities. I felt like Sessegnon did have some decent deliveries. He did take on Tavernier a few times, but Tavernier was pretty decent. I have to say he had a pretty good game, and you have to give him credit for that. Defensively, I actually think he's weaker than Emerson defensively, and I think that was a case in point in the game where the cross, he shouldn't have really allowed that cross to come in for the goal, which was a bit disappointing. He did nearly score, I think, at the beginning of the second half, which was actually the chance Sanchez created, but we forced a good save. And a couple of times, Emerson was aiming for him at the back post, and he nearly got there, just wasn't able to get on the end of it, which I do think he's starting to get improve on, trying to get on the end of things and stuff at the back post, which is crucial, which he was very good at for Fulham, but hasn't really seen it at Spurs yet. I still think there's a lot of promise. I don't think it was a bad performance, but there are a few occasions where he could have really gone for the throw, and he was a bit conservative. So I want to see him have a bit more confidence still, and that's always been an issue with Sessegnon, just having more confidence. And I think it's building, just needs to take that extra step.
Let's move on to Dejan Kulusevski, our ginger from Sweden. 8s all round from us, and I thought in the first half he was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. He was picking up the ball from deep, doing that little move that he does where he shifts the ball past the defender and zooms past them. He was creating loads of different opportunities for Spurs. He definitely should have had a goal because Harry Kane played him through a couple of times, and every time he kept shifting it onto his right, back onto his left, and trying to manoeuvre some room for him, but it wasn't to be. But I think that the way he gets the ball and beats men and just creates havoc at times, he's absolutely brilliant. I think he did tire a bit in that second half, and ultimately he was taken off, but in the first half I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah, I agree, and he's starting to really get better at running in behind and finding that space as well, which is good, because we know him as a player who's good at the ball at his feet and is a good dribbler. He definitely showed that a few times against Rangers. They were spinning away from players. That was that move late in the half where he nutmegged the Rangers defender on the edge of the box, winning a free kick. Could have been a penalty. That was a really good piece of dribbling as well. But he's also starting to get a lot better at running in behind, running into the space, which we definitely need as well in this Conte system. He needs to be a bit unpredictable, and he was very good at that. The only annoyance is that he kept insisting on going back on his left foot, and pretty much every time he did that, he got tackled and the move broke down, whereas if he was able to go on his right foot, he definitely would have got a shot off. Not necessarily saying he would have scored, but each time he didn't get the shot off, and he definitely would have if he went with his right.
Yeah, he
that's
got
for
the
sure.
shot off once, didn't he, when it went down like the throat of the keeper a bit.
But that was him getting laid off by Kane. Kane laid him off, and he stepped onto it, and it was a good strike. But it was a good save by McGregor. That was a decent moment as well. But I thought he was a massive threat. The way that front three link up together so seamlessly is such a joy to watch, and he's become such an integral part to that as well. It's so great to see him, Son and Kane just linking up in tandem. And at the moment, as much as Richarlison is a very good signing, the link up between those three is going to be very hard to budge, and he's got his work cut out to have that same rapport with Kane and Son that he does. And I thought, I agree. In the first half, he was a massive threat, and he was literally every time he got the ball, he was causing trouble. Second half wasn't maybe the same as that, unfortunately.
Well, the good thing about Richarlison is that he can play in either three of those positions. So players are going to need rests. And I don't think that Richarlison can get that spot just on replacing one of the players. He needs to come in when another player has rest and then keep that spot. You know what I mean? That's the case it's going to have to be with Richarlison. But let's move on with Harry Kane. 9s all round from us. An absolutely scintillating display from Harry Kane yet again in this pre-season. He was our chief creator once again. How many times did you see him winning the ball deep, playing lovely through balls, especially to Kulusevski, over the top crossfield switches of play as well. I thought was unbelievable from Harry Kane. And not only was he our chief creator, but he scored our 2 goals as well with 2 sublime finishes, especially the first one. The way he cut inside and absolutely gave the keeper no chance whatsoever hitting the side netting. And the other one as well was a lovely finish as well. So Harry Kane was absolutely unplayable yesterday. And long may it continue.
Yeah, he's looking as sharp as ever, isn't he, Harry Kane? 5 goals he now has in pre-season. He's really racking them up already, and he's looking so hungry and so sharp and looking like we want to achieve something big this season. First half, he was creator-in-chief, and with all the chances he was laying on a plate for everyone, and pretty much all of them being spurned, it was almost as if he was like, all right, I'm just going to do it myself. and then all he needed was a couple of chances, although he did have one in the first half, a one-on-one, which unfortunately was saved by McGregor, hit the legs. But he was so busy creating chances for Son, for Kulusevski. The little flicks around the corner were a delight to see. That he's so good at linking up with his teammates. And then the 2 clinical finishes in the second half, we all know he's capable of that. And then it was pretty much job done for him. It was pretty much a complete performance, and it's another example of how Kane can just dictate a game. Everything just goes through him, and he's so hard to stop when he's in that kind of mood, because if he comes deep and you go towards him, it leaves all that space for Son and Kulusevski to run into. If you don't go towards him and you leave him with the space, then he can just hit a long shot, or he can drive the ball forward, and or he could go up front as well and then become the number 9 and finish like he did yesterday. It's just I think he's in for an unbelievable season. I can't wait to see him.
Seems to have a bit more pace about him at the moment, Kane as well. The older he gets, the faster he gets. It's an absolutely bizarre one. But as well that Rangers seem to have a specific plan for him and tried to man mark him out of the game, but he wasn't having any of it.
And also I feel like sorry, he went through that period, didn't he, where he was getting those ankle injuries, and when he came back, he was still a decent goal scorer, but there was something missing to his game before Mourinho came for a year or 2, where he didn't seem to trust his body. He wouldn't use his strength as much, and he wouldn't try and bully defenders. And now I feel like he's becoming a lot more aggressive off the ball, using his strength, leaning into people, holding the ball up. And obviously Conte has experience with Lukaku and getting him to use his body, and maybe I think we're starting to see that more with Kane as well.
He's starting to morph now into the complete player, the literal complete player, because I'm looking at Harry Kane, I'm trying to think of a flaw in his game. Can't think of one. Not one, literally. Let's move on to the final person of the starting 11, which was Heung-Min Son. 8 all round from us, and it was a really good display. Rangers were finding it hard to deal with him at times. Grabbed himself 2 assists, but even with the 2 assists, you're thinking your passing's not really on it today, because there were so many times where that chance for Hojbjerg, where you said that it wasn't the greatest pass, and there was a couple of other moments where you're thinking Son could have made a better pass there. But at the end of the day, he ends up with 2 assists on the day, so you can't really complain too much.
Yeah, I think he was also a bit similar to Kulusevski, always causing trouble. He actually had pretty good switches of play to the wing back as well, which was nice to see. His passing was a bit crisp in that sense. When he got to the final third and decision making and stuff like that, wasn't as decisive as we know Son can do. But he was still always a menace, linking up with Kane. Obviously, 2 assists. The second assist was pretty good. That kind of volleyed pass into Kane, which he ended up scoring. That was pretty nice moment for him. But I don't remember too many times where he was able to get shots off and test the keeper, which someone like Son with his shooting ability, he's got to at least have a few shots a game, because he's likely to score if he gets them off. So that was a bit disappointing, but I think he was more of a creator yesterday. He was still able to create quite a bit.
But again, I felt like with Kane and Son, the Rangers' plans were specific towards them, try and get them out of the game, try and mark them out of the game, and they did a lot better job with Sonny than they did with Harry Kane, or maybe just Kane performed a lot better than Sonny. So so I think they did a good job in that sense, but ultimately he did end up with 2 assists and we won the game 2-1. Let's move on to the substitutes. Let's start off with Richarlison, 6s all round from us. A bit of a similar display to what we've seen so far with Richarlison, where he's full of a lot of running, off the ball, some really good display, but I feel like he needs to be impacting stuff in the final third, because he picks up the ball and tries to run at them a bit from deep, but we're not really seeing him in and around the box and causing havoc and getting shots off and stuff like that. So I want to see more of that from Richarlison.
What I think we need to see more of is a bit more interplay from him. I feel like maybe it's because he's spent so long at Everton and he's so used to doing things by himself. He picks up the ball, he looks to take people on, and he is pretty good at doing that, because he does win a lot of free kicks and he does cause trouble. There was that chance as well where he got round the defender and he was about to be through on goal pretty much, or get a goal scoring position, and then he was hacked down and he won a free kick, and he did that a few times. So that's positive, and that's also something I think we need, because I feel like in our squad, Kulusevski brings a bit of it, but I feel like that ability to take people on and just commit players, we needed that ability. So Richarlison's good, but I also feel like his interplay needs a lot of work. You see when Kane and Son get close to each other, how they're just passing and moving, and the little touches around the corner, and exactly. So look, Richarlison just needs a bit of time to get up to speed in that front. I'm sure it will come, but right now it's just not there just yet. And also his time on the pitch with Kane and Son is still a bit limited as well, because he seems to be playing with the when there's been substitutions. I think Kane went off for him, didn't he? Yeah, I think so. There you go. So he still needs time with Kane and Son on the pitch, but I'm encouraged. But I want to see a bit more from him in the final third, a bit better interplay. And he did, I think, the one chance he had, which was. Well, he had a couple of chances. One from a header from a Perisic cross, which looped over the bar. There was one time where Gil, I think Romero.
Nice little 1-2.
Yeah, I think Romero forced McGregor into a mistake. Gil played it to Richarlison. He kind of had a one-on-one with the defender, and he couldn't quite make the most of it, and ended up wasting an opportunity. But I think there's encouraging signs, but I want to see a bit more decisiveness in the final third and interplay.
Let's move on to Yves Bissouma. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. He came on at half-time for Rodrigo Bentancur. And I was actually quite disappointed with Bissouma's display yesterday. I mean, he just kept it really simple, calm and simple. It's kind of understandable, just coming back from COVID and not having that many training sessions with the team and stuff like that. So I'm not going to comment on it too much. I expect a much better performance when he's had a whole week of training behind him next weekend against Roma. There was that one moment as well where he pulled out of a challenge, which I don't really associate with Yves Bissouma, so it was a strange one, but I'm kind of just putting it down to COVID. But look, it wasn't a terrible display. It just wasn't what I thought I'd see from Bissouma.
Yeah, it was definitely a quiet first 45 minutes in the Tottenham shirt. I did think off the ball that I did see some good things. You're right, there was that one challenge that he was very weak in, which was a bit disappointing. But I think he did win the ball a few times in the centre, which allowed us to spring on Rangers, which was fairly good. I think he took a free kick late in the game, which was a decent. Wasn't a shot, but it was a decent cross, which nearly found its way to the back of the net. But McGregor was able to get it away. But there wasn't too much to say about Bissouma on the ball. There wasn't that dribbling, that authority that we're used to seeing when Bissouma plays for Brighton, especially against us. We didn't really see much of that yesterday, but maybe that'll come with time. So I'm not going to judge him too just on 45 minutes. But I wouldn't say it was terrible, but it was definitely quiet. Just kept it simple, just did the basics. And but I'm sure once he grows into his role, we're going to see the more authoritative Bissouma we've seen in Brighton.
Absolutely. Let's move on to Lucas Moura. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. Came on at half-time at right wing back for Emerson Royal, and I thought that it was okay. It was actually okay. I thought defensively he actually did his job pretty well. Going forward, though, was found wanting more times than not. I don't think he impacted much going forward. Moved over into attacking role later on in the half when the more substitutions came. And again, I thought that it wasn't that great. Didn't really impact much going forward, which you kind of expect him to do.
Yeah, but that's one of the issues also I have with Lucas at wing back. He's very good with the ball at his feet, and then he has to take people on and take people out of the game. He's very good at that. But how many times Emerson doesn't get in the positions he gets because he's able to drive with the ball. He gets in the positions he gets because of his running off the ball, and that's always been one of my major criticisms with Lucas. I don't think his runs off the ball are very good, and I don't think he runs into the space enough. And if he's going to be an effective right wing back, that's going to be one of his major things he's going to have to do. So that's one thing which I don't think he did that at all really off the ball running when he was at wing back in the second half. He did move over to left wing. I think he looked a bit better there. Start committing players and causing a bit of trouble, but again wasn't able to get many shots off or anything. But I did think he was able to cause the Rangers defence a bit of trouble and link up with the other forwards. So it was okay overall, but if he's going to play wing back, I just want to see some improvements with off the ball running.
And last but not least, we're going to talk about Ivan Perisic, who came on for the last half an hour. 7s all round from us. And in terms of the new signings, he was the best of the lot, in my opinion. He came on and showed Sessegnon what he should have been doing pretty much for the first hour of the game. He was attacking really well, getting some really good crosses in the box, albeit no goals came from it, but they were absolute pinpoint crosses. And this is what we've been missing in this team for the last couple of years now, is crosses from wide areas. And that's exactly what he's going to give us. And I felt the aggression in terms of his defensive display as well was really good. So I'm liking the look of Perisic, and I can't wait to see him in full-blown action in the Premier League.
Yeah, definitely. I thought he was a pretty good cameo from him, especially going forward. He pushes so far up the pitch. He really is like another winger. And he's going to cause a lot of trouble for oppositions next season, especially with Son around as well. I think that they're not going to know who to go with, because at least now defenses can say, okay, just stick with Son, because we know that Sessegnon, he's not going to be as effective with Perisic there. All of a sudden it's going to be like, well, we can't just leave Perisic alone. He's got that quality. He had an overhead kick attempt just over the bar. He's actually a really good threat from set pieces as well, Perisic, with his aerial ability and stuff like that. He was showing that. And obviously he had a really good cross for Richarlison, which went over the bar. But yeah, I'm really liking the look of him, and I'm excited to see him at wing back, what he's going to bring, because I really believe that someone with his attacking ability at wing back really should allow a lot more space for Kane and Son. And if it doesn't allow more space for Kane and Son, then Perisic could really start affecting things in terms of output at wing back for us, which we haven't really had from our wing backs.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of the players that got 20 minutes, Joe Rodon, Fraser Forster, Clement Longley, Jed Spence and Brian Hill. I thought that Jed Spence showed a bits of nice work. We didn't see much of him going forward, but what we've heard about him is he has a few defensive frailties, and he actually stood up defensively in terms of 2 minutes after coming on. He makes a really, really good challenge in our own area, where if he puts a foot wrong there, he's giving away a penalty. So props for Spence for that. And Clement Longley as well. I thought he made a really important block, which could have ended up in our own net, but it ended up going wide and giving away a corner. So that was a really good block. And he made a few really nice pings up the field. So those two I'm quite excited for.
Yeah, one notably to Richarlison, who was able to win a free kick-off. That was a really good pass from Longley. If he was aiming for him anyway, I think he was. So that was that. Yeah, that was a decent cameo from him. Look, he definitely has a very cultured pass about him and just needs a bit more confidence. Spence, decent. There were a few times he did get forward, just wasn't able to get found. I remember, I think it was Lucas was it Lucas or I can't remember who it was, tried a few through balls to him and they just got cut out, which was a shame. But yeah, that defensive block where Rangers looked like they were going to be in on goal and he got back and was able to do a perfectly timed tackle. That was really really nice, although a few times he was trying to build the play up from the right wing back position and his passing was a bit loose, so he's got to improve on that. Forster didn't have too much, although there was one save late in the game which was straight at him, but
got a nice reception though, didn't he?
Yeah, very nice reception from the Rangers crowd. Roden, I don't think there was too much of note for him. Just kind of came on and kept things simple.
He gets a haircut rating.
Yeah, the haircut rating, give him a 6 for his haircut. I'm not so sure about it, but who am I to talk? And who else was there?
And then obviously...
And Gil was okay.
Yeah.
I actually think he linked up quite nicely a couple of moments with Richarlison, but again, didn't really do any much when it got to the final third in terms of getting shots or getting a through ball, some stuff like that. Just nice 1-2s in and around the centre of the pitch, which was fine. And yeah, that's it, I think.
And then obviously Papa Matasar and Tanganga come on the last 8 minutes, but really not much in it for them.
Yeah, not much to note.
Yeah. So that is our player ratings for the 2-1 win over Rangers in our penultimate friendly. We move on to Roma for our last friendly next weekend. Let us know your not predictions. Let us know your player ratings in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.